Hello friends, today's session we are going to learn about conditional statements, how we can use the conditional statements in our program. My name is Arun R.S. Chandran. In last session we learned about loops, and in today we are going to learn about conditional statements. Suppose you want to execute a certain code block based on some conditions. Say for example, if a variable value is true, then execute a particular block. If it has some other value, execute some other lines of code. We have different type of conditional statements. Most frequently we use if as a conditional statement, and there is another thing called ternary operator, and we use switch as well for the conditional operations. Let's try what is if. Let me just remove this code which we have used for last session. In this session I am going to write an integer value to I equal to 0, and say I have and let me just start with an if I equal to 0, then print the value of I equal to plus I. So this will concatenate this string. This is a string. This string will concatenate this number and is going to print this value here. Now this value of I we have set as 0, and this condition when it checks, if this condition when it checks, this is going to print 0 for sure. When this condition is checked, this condition is going to return true, and if it is true, this portion of the code is going to execute. Let me run this. You can see the output. It printed I equal to 0. Now let us change the value of I and see. I am changing the value of I to 1 and then running the same code. What it is going to print is it is nothing on the screen, because it didn't enter into this code. The reason is I equal to 0, when it checked, it returned false. Let us give a end statement in our application. I'm giving an end, then run as Java application. What you are going to see is simply it is printed end on the console, because this statement I equal to 0, when it checked, it returned false. Hence it didn't execute it, and it executed the end. Now let's change it back to 0 and see how and what is going to happen. Now this code, the executor entered here and it executed both these lines. Now you could have understand, if the condition is true, if the expression over here is returning true, then the body of this part will be executed. This body will be executed. So that is about if statement. If is a conditional statement. Its syntax starts with if, and then in round brackets you have to give a expression and opening and closing braces. In between this opening and closing braces you have to write here code. Let us learn one more thing. If the condition is false, then we have to execute some other thing. Then we use else. It is called if else block. It ends ends where it starts where if, okay, the else block 3, 2, 1. The else block starts where the if block ends. In this case, you can see the highlighted braces of if and here else starting. Now I am just going to give a print statement here. The condition was wrong, and we are going to print the I. Now let's run this. You can see I equal to 0, this printed, and now I'm changing the I's value to 1 and run it. Now you can see the else block has executed. Only if the expression is returning false, then else block will execute it. If the expression is returning true, then this if block will be executing. And that is about the if else block and if else syntax. And you can have nested if, nested else, else if. Inside else you can write if, inside if you can again write another if else, and you can write if else ladder also. Say for example, here if I can give this else if, after the else again I am starting another if, that is called an if else if ladder, and I am giving I equal to 1. Say I am simply checking if I equal to 1, then you execute this line. Now let us run this. It says I equal to 1. Now let me just change it to I equal to 2. It didn't print even the if block or even the else if block. Why it didn't print is, it was checking if the I's value is 1, it was checking I equal to 0, then it returned false. It came here, and again the else block has another if. It is checking if I equal to 2, it is returning false again because I equal to 1. So this line also not executed, it went to the end. Now let me just add else. I'm updating this else if I equal to 1, and then again else if. That if has again an else. Sorry, the second if, the second else if, I am giving one more else if I equal to 2. I am copying this line here, 2. Say this is else if 1, and this can be else if 2. Else if 2. Now let's see what's the print on the screen. Yes, it is else if 1, because the value of int I equal to 1. Let me just give one more statement giving 2. I'm just giving a change, giving 2 and just running else if 2. This block has printed. Now let me give back to 0 and then run it. You will be seeing I equal to 0. So now that is about if and else block, and else if block also we have learned. This is called a ladder. It calls like a ladder kind of execution format. If that is not found, then the next one, then the next one, like that. So if you have multiple conditions to check, many conditions, if this is not the case, check whether this is the case. In that case, you can use this kind of a if else ladder block. Now let us try to read an input from a user. So we are going to use something called scanner. I'm just typing scanner input, let us give it as input reader equal to new scanner. So we will learn about creating objects and classes, and what is classes and objects in detail we will be learning in the upcoming session. And in this we are going to give system.in. So this statement means we are creating a scanner object. Using the scanner object we can read the user input which is typed in the console. Okay, so anyway you will be understanding this in the later session. Here input reader dot next line string, let's not give string, int integer value. So this string, this input next line is going to read a string here, so we need to convert it into integer value, integer dot value of. Now we are reading the input and assigning that input to this value variable. Now let us give some system dot out dot println enter a number. Using this code we are asking our user to enter a number on the console, and from the console we will read that number and assign it to this value. And now let us try to print that value as well. Going to give it in quotes and the plus value. Oops, lot of typos. Okay, so now this is going to read an input and just going to print that input into the console. Let's run. It waits here. This program you can see here, it is still in red. That means the program is not completed, it is waiting for something. So I'm going to type 34 and just entered. You can see the value 34 has printed. That means the value which I entered read to this line and it got printed. We are going to ask the user to enter a value and we are going to print whether the value is odd or even. So we know mode 2 is returning 0. That means a number mode 2 is returning 0 means it's an even number, otherwise it's an odd number. So let us remove all this code and let us play with the if. How we can write this program using the if. Now we are going to check whether the number is odd or not. So if the value mode 2 equal to 0. So that means the value mode 2 equal to 0, then it is even. Execute the even. Let us sys out even number, else it's going to be odd number. Let's copy this here, odd number. Now let's run. Okay, I'm going to give somewhere else 1 2 3. It's printed. The value which I entered is 123 and it's an odd number. Run again. What's going to happen? This number is asking 24. So 24 is an even number. So this is a use case of if statement. Now think about this. You have many expressions you need to check. Say for example, you want to receive users input and print a day in a week. Say if it is 1, then you want to print Sunday. If it is 2, you want to print Monday. If it is 3, you want to print Tuesday. So the same way you want to display all the 7 week days. In this if and else, it will be a difficult thing to write all these details. In that place, we actually uses something called switch statement. In switch, we will have different cases. When I show the example, you will understand. Now let us remove the odd even play from here. I'm just going to enter a number. I'm just commenting this, and let's give, this is the syntax of switch. It should be lowercase, switch, and an expression. So what is my expression? Here my expression is going to be the value. I'm just going with the value, and then case 1, then colon, and whatever the statement I want to write there, and then break. So if the case 1 means if the value is, okay, let me just change this to input so that it won't confuse. So this is input, and if the input value, the variable name input has a value of 1, then this portion between this colon and this break portion will execute. If case 2, then the next block will be executing. Now let me just print sys out. It is going to be a Sunday, and this is to be a Monday. Now I'm just going to copy paste this and change it. 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so Monday, Sunday, Monday, then Tuesday, Thursday, missed Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm not going to give the 7th one, the Saturday. I will show you another example. I want to show that with another example, so I'm not going to give the Saturday here. So let's Sunday to Monday, 1 to 6 days we are going to give. Just run this, run application. It's waiting for a number. I'm giving 2. Sorry, I'm giving 2 here. Enter. You can see it printed Monday. Now what we are going to do next is this. We will, okay, let us try with some more numbers. Run it. Just give 5. This case 5 executed and Thursday got printed. Okay, now we have something called default in switch. Say no number matches, then the default block should execute. Say let's give case 7 and break. I'm going to give Saturday here, and in default you don't need to have a break at the default if you are writing it at the end. Not a valid weekday. Now let me run this. and enter a number 67. It is going to print the default one because I have given a wrong number which is not belongs to 1 to 7 numbers. The expression doesn't match up to 1 to 7. So what is the use of default? In switch cases, you can give a default if the input or if the value of the expression, if the expression doesn't suit any of the value which is expected, then you want to give some messages, you can use default. You can write code without the default also. So that is about if, else and switch statements. We will be learning about ternary operator in one of our sessions which is upcoming. And with this, we have learned about loops, we have learned about conditional statements. Now we have to learn seriously about classes and objects. In the upcoming session, we will be learning about classes, methods and objects. If you have not subscribed to this channel, subscribe now. We are coming up with a lot of new tutorials. Thank you very much.